It's part 4 of our conversation with Rik Emmett. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Rik has just reissued 11 of his solo albums. There'll be links in the description of this video where you can pick them up. And make sure you pick up a t-shirt from Rock History Music. Help support our channel. Here's Rik Emmett.
Listen, I was listening to the Bee Gees yesterday. And it's strange. I was thinking about, like, you know, Rock and Roll Machine and Just a Game, Pocket 77, 79. And I was listening to the top hits of 78. I'd forgotten, I don't know why, that you know, Night Fever and Staying Alive and How Deep Is Your Love and all that stuff. And I thought of this interview and I thought, well, the guy does a lot of different types of music. I mean, his palette is rich, and it's a lot of real estate in the music you like. But in 78, between those two Triumph albums, what kind of music were you listening to back then? Bee Gees made me think about that, because I thought, yeah, I like the Bee Gees. What was you listening to in 1978 when you were doing that rock stuff?
You couldn't escape the radio, you know, and radio was, at that point in time, was starting to become more and more of ubiquitous. It would, you know, the whole idea of going into stores and the radios would be playing, and walking down the mall and radio would be playing, and, you know, it was really starting to be, music was turning into wallpaper. And obviously that disco era, I mean, you listen to the song Hold On, and when it gets to after the bridge, it breaks down, and there's this little moment where there's a sort of a sustaining feedback guitar note, and the drums start playing, chink, 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 chicka, chicka, chink, 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 chicka, chicka, and it's disco. You know, it's Triumph goes this. Mike's bass comes and goes boom, 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 boom. It's disco. But then, yeah, here come the guitars, and the guitars are layered. And I knew what I wanted. I wanted something that was like they call them wire choirs, where you just layers and layers and layers of guitars in harmony, you know, building up an arrangement. And that was Brian May was, you know, obviously amazingly good at it. But I think where it started for me was Moody Blues. Justin Hayward used to do these on Moody Blues records. So, and it just so happened that Just a Game album that we were recording in 1978, the engineer on that was Mike Jones, and Mike Jones had cut his teeth in the old England Decca Studios, and he'd done the Moody Blues records. So he knew how Justin Hayward did it. And so it was like, all right, you know, let's spend an afternoon and let's build a wire choir the way the Moody Blues would have done it. And so there you go. That's what's happening in 78 was, you know, meanwhile, we're out playing tours, you know, we're still playing live shows, and, you know, Triumph is this thing that's really learning, oh yeah, we're going to rock like crazy and then blow off some flash pots, and then we'll rock even a little more heavier, and then we'll shoot off the flamethrowers, and then we'll rock even heavier, you know. So it's like, we were never going to get away from that. We were in that world. Triumph kind of originally saw itself as a heavy metal band and marketed itself as that way. We never really actually were, because by the time I was writing the songs and getting my nose into the arrangements, and it was going to be a reflection of me, there was very little of me that was heavy metal, which is not to say that there wasn't a part, because I loved Ritchie Blackmore and Deep Purple. Like, that was a big part of my own development. So that kind of Deep Purple thing is very evident in, I would say, beyond 78. You hear Deep Purple in the records we made in 1980, 81, and then it became less after that. But
you know, the person who introduced me to Triumph, the person who gave me the first Triumph album, he lent it to me. His favorite band was Deep Purple, and he introduced me to Triumph. There you go.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Ritchie Blackmore in the way that I play guitar. You know, some phrasing and staccato little things that I do, left hand legato things. It's Ritchie. You know, like, that's where that came from. But, you know, Blackmore was a pretty influential guitarist. Like, guys like Yngwie Malmsteen would say, no, he was my hero. You know.
See, now people don't. I remember, and you and I think we did like 5 interviews back in the day, but. You were one of the first guys who told me. He said, well, I said, isn't it hard? I mean, when you're picking, It was actually you, the first guy that I mean, I don't know why I never thought of it. When you're picking and you're singing, that I said, well, how do you do that? You said, well, you got to really practice that. I mean, people have no idea. Like most of the time you strum or something and you sing or you know, whatever. But when you're picking and singing lead, I said, well, how do you do that? And you're the guy who said, well, you just practice that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. People don't even think
one of my favorite guitar players is Bruce Coburn, and it's because he has a gift for a certain style of playing where his thumb is constantly dung, but it's and the thumb is in this thing. And he can do that while he can talk. He can recite poetry. He can sing. While he's doing that. I cannot do that. So I admire it because he's got this, it's almost like an autonomic function that once he gets that pattern rocking on his right hand, nothing can stop it. It's like it's just a train on a track and it's going. And he learned it from like Puka White or somebody like that. Clarence White was somebody like that. Anyhow, the Doc Watson school of bluegrass kind of guitar playing, I could never really master that. The Chet Atkins thing, that Merle Travis thing, I can't do it. I can approximate it, but if you said to me, "Come on, Rick, do that Chet Atkins thing and let's do this interview," and I would go, "Sorry, no can do. Cannot walk and chew gum at the same time."
Yeah. Well, what you've heard Lindsey Buckingham doing Fleetwood Mac's "Big Love," right? You've heard
yeah.
When he does that. Okay, I'm not a guitarist. Is that as hard as I think it is when he's doing that acoustically?
Yeah, although Buckingham's got a nice right hand thing going. He's not in the same league as, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, there's a world of Michael Hedges and Adrian Legg and those kind of guitar players, and their right hands are, I don't know if you know of an English guy named Martin Taylor.
Yeah.
He's an unbelievably great jazz guitarist, and his right hand is beyond great, So, there's always going to be somebody that's, capable on a technical level of really high. But for rock players, Lindsey Buckingham was a guy that had that folky right hand thing kind of going, and it was pretty damn good. And was his feel for it really good? Did he make good choices about where it would be in the songs? That's a whole other thing. So Buckingham made some really nice, tasty choices about where he would deploy that skill. And then there was other times where, I think, what's the V song that's like, "Oh, you make love and fun," something like that. "Oh, you make love and fun," and he's playing a guitar solo. It's like, it's like Neil Young. It's like one note, but it's the right thing for that song. It's exactly the right thing. That, to me, Buckingham's his strength was his ability to choose the right thing. You
look good.
I'm all right. I'm happy and I'm relaxed. I stopped touring. Last U.S. gig was December of 2018. Last Canadian one was January of 2019. And then I said to the agent, "Give me, I don't know, 8 months, a year. I'll just have a hiatus. And then I'll try a few gigs that I'm not going to go to the airport and fly anywhere, but I'll maybe drive to some. So book those and put those on the schedule, and I'll try a few of those to see if I want to get back into it." Then COVID hits, and then those get canceled. And so I was already on the trajectory was kind of to this, sitting around here in my office and writing and being creative. And I had it in the back of my mind. I'd been thinking, I want to do a record that's like the first Bob Dylan record that I ever owned, which was John Hammond did it, and it was just guitar and voice. And so that was in the back of my head way back before any of this, COVID thing started. So, that was logical. I was just down in my basement in my little studio making my voice guitar record and playing my little jazz guitar pieces. And so now all of that's come out, and then along comes Roundhill, buys up the Triumph catalog, and then says, "Hey, Rick, would you like us to buy up yours too?" I go, "Oh, that would be lovely," because I just gone through this big long thing where my dad is, he's 92 now, and he's in a home, and he was starting to, just senility, dementia, those kinds of things. So you have to get the power of attorney. You got to do wills. I went through this, big long thing with that and realized, geez, do I really want to saddle my own kids with copyright administrations and the ownership of master recordings? And I went, no, this Roundhill thing is coming along. It's perfect. I go, yes, I do want to offload as much as I possibly can. So it's kind of like, it's actually been good for me to be doing these interviews. And I feel like I've kind of hit a very natural run now. And it organic and natural in the sense that it's like, it's going downhill, but it's got a nice momentum to it. And so, yeah, I'm getting old and I'm going to die, but, that happens to everybody. And meanwhile, I'm enjoying this momentum of all of this stuff because you kind of go, well, what else am I going to do? My past is kind of providing this momentum, and I'm just going to sort of enjoy the ride, be here and in the car and just let it roll,
Rik has just reissued 11 of his solo albums. There'll be a link in the description of this video where you can pick them up. Also, pick up a Rock History Music t-shirt. They look pretty good. Subscribe to our channel, share our videos, and comment on them as well. We'll have more from Rik next week. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music.